Forget the missile counts. Forget the press conferences. Forget every headline you've read this week. There's one number that tells you exactly Iran just executed a three-step kill chain against America, its most advanced missile defense system in the Persian Gulf. Not a lucky shot, not a one-off strike, a sequenced, methodical dismantling of the architecture that America has spent 3 decades and tens of billions of dollars building to guarantee security for every ally in that region. And the way they did it tells you more about who actually holds the advantage in this war than anything coming out of the Pentagon or the White House right now. Here's the sequence. Step 1. The AN FPS-132 Block 5 upgraded early warning radar at the THAAD complex in Qatar. This is a $1.1 billion system. It sees incoming threats from 5,000 kilometers away. That's the distance from Qatar to western China. This radar is the first alarm bell in the entire Gulf defense chain. It's the system that tells every Patriot battery, every THAAD crew, every Aegis destroyer that something is coming and how long they have to respond. Iran hit it first, and that choice was not random. Step 2, the NTPY-2 forward-based radar at Al Dhafra in the UAE. This is the dedicated THAAD radar, the one that provides the precise tracking data that a THAAD launcher physically cannot function without. A THAAD launcher without this radar doesn't just perform worse, it doesn't perform at all. It cannot acquire a target. It cannot guide an interceptor. It is functionally a very expensive piece of metal pointed at the sky. Iran took it out second. Step 3, the THAAD battery itself, the billion-dollar-plus terminal phase interceptor system, operated directly by American soldiers. Roughly 95 U.S. personnel run a standard THAAD battery. After the radar was gone, after the early warning was gone, Iran struck the battery. And at that point, the battery couldn't fight back because every system it depended on to see, track, and engage incoming threats had already been destroyed in the preceding strikes. Now, stop and think about what that sequencing means. Iran didn't just throw missiles at the most visible American target and hope for the best. They went outside and blind the long-range eyes first, then kill the targeting brain, then destroy the body. That's not opportunistic. That's doctrine. That's a systems-level understanding of how American missile defense is layered and a deliberate plan to collapse those layers in the correct order. That requires intelligence on system locations, understanding of sensor dependencies, and confidence that the strikes would land before the architecture could adapt. And now here's where the math gets uncomfortable. That number I mentioned at the top, 650, that's America's entire THAAD interceptor stockpile total across all theaters, all allies, all commitments worldwide, built over roughly 15 years at a rate of 40 to 50 rounds per year at a cost of approximately $12.7 million per interceptor. That's the whole inventory backing up every American promise to shoot down every ballistic missile aimed at every ally in every region simultaneously. During the 12-day Israel-Iran war last June, the United States fired over 150 THAAD interceptors. That was 23 to 25% of the entire global stockpile in 12 days, defending one country in a conflict that ended with a ceasefire. And how many new THAAD rounds did the U.S. receive in all of fiscal year 2026? 12. Let that land. America burned through roughly 150 interceptors in less than 2 weeks last summer. It received 12 replacements in an entire fiscal year. At that production rate, replacing what was consumed in the June war alone takes over 12 years. And that's before you factor in what's being consumed right now. The current conflict is 5 days old. It spans 11 countries. It has already generated more total intercepts in 5 days than the entire June war produced in 12, and a THAAD battery has been physically destroyed. Meaning not just the interceptors gone, but the launchers, the radar, the fire control, the complete system that costs between $1 billion and $1.8 billion and takes years to manufacture and field. Now, I want to talk about the mechanism that makes this math even worse, because this is the part that keeps defense procurement officials up at night, and nobody in media is explaining it properly. Iran doesn't send ballistic missiles alone. It mixes them with Shade 136 drones that cost roughly $35,000 each. They arrive in the same salvos. And here's the problem. A radar operator watching a mixed swarm of incoming contacts cannot instantly tell which blip is a $35,000 drone and which is a ballistic missile carrying a warhead that could kill hundreds of people. Classification takes time that a terminal phase engagement might not allow. So the standing order, the only rational standing order, is to engage everything. Every blip gets an interceptor. A PAC-3 MSE costs about $4 million. A THAAD interceptor costs $12.7 million. An SM-6 fired from a destroyer can run $4 to $5 million, and a meaningful percentage of those interceptors are being fired at drones that cost less than a mid-range pickup truck. Iran essentially turned its drone fleet into an invoicing system. Every mixed salvo is a forced purchase order. America and its allies have to buy the engagement because the alternative, guessing wrong and letting a real ballistic missile through, is catastrophically more expensive than the interceptor. Iran built its entire salvo doctrine around this math, and 5 days in the invoices are stacking up. The UAE intercepted 645 drones in the first 5 days. 645 individual engagements, each one requiring a missile. Each missile drawn from a stockpile that takes years to refill. Lockheed Martin's target for PX-3 MSE production is 650 units per year by 2027. They're not there yet. And that target number would need to cover replacements for every allied country consuming interceptors simultaneously, not just the UAE. And here's the dimension of this that extends far beyond the Gulf. A January 2026 Heritage Foundation report. This is a conservative pro-defense think tank, not some fringe outlet, modeled what happens to U.S. interceptor stockpiles in a sustained high-intensity conflict. Their assessment was blunt. High-end interceptors like SM-3, SM-6, PAC-3, MSE, and THAAD would likely be exhausted within days of sustained combat against a peer adversary. Some systems depleted after just 2 to 3 major salvos. The report estimated aggregate U.S. vertical launch system inventories at around 17,000 rounds, which they called insufficient for even one full fleet reload. Peer-side rearming would create multi-week gaps. The Heritage Foundation's conclusion was systemic failure within 30 to 60 days. That report was written about a potential China scenario, Taiwan, the Western Pacific, the conflict that every defense planner in the Pentagon has been gaming out since at least 2020. But the stress test is happening now against Iran in the Gulf on day 5, and China is absolutely watching. Every THAAD interceptor expended over the UAE is one that cannot sit in a magazine aboard a destroyer in the South China Sea. Every PAC-3 consumed defending allowed is a PAC-3 that's not available for the scenario Beijing has been studying. The depletion happening in real time right now is not just an Iran problem, it's a global deterrence problem, and it may be the most strategically significant second-order effect of this entire war. Now, I want to be honest with you about what we don't know, because that matters too. We don't have Pentagon-confirmed battle damage assessments on every strike I've described. We don't know the full picture of U.S. offensive operations degrading Iran's launch infrastructure. We don't know whether backup systems, relocations, or alternative sensor networks are compensating for the losses I've outlined. The Pentagon's silence could reflect operational security just as easily as it reflects concealment of bad news. Probably it's some of both, thought. But what we do know, the production numbers, the stockpile depths, the cost ratios, the Heritage Foundation's own modeling, that data is public. It's from Lockheed Martin's annual reports, it's from Congressional Research Service briefs, it's from the manufacturers themselves, and none of those numbers have been disputed. The Gulf security architecture, the system of American bases, American radar, American interceptor batteries, and American personnel guarantees that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain have paid for with basing rights and procurement contracts and strategic alignment for 30 years. That architecture rested on an implicit promise, the promise that American systems could absorb any Iranian strike package and keep functioning, that the layered defense was deep enough that nothing could reach the core. 3 strikes, 5 days. The core took a hit. Trump says the war could last 4 to 5 weeks. Replacing what's already been consumed takes years. Those 2 timelines do not live in the same universe. And someone in Washington knows that, even if nobody's saying it on camera yet. This is Arsenal Economics. If this breakdown helped you understand something the mainstream coverage isn't explaining, share it, send it to someone, subscribe if you're not already. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you in the next